Hi guys, my name is Daniel Duncan Williams, aka also known as D Wills, and you are welcome to my new podcast, A Young Man's Dream. So basically today what I want to be speaking to you about is my history. This is episode 1, and I want you to get to know me better. I want you to get to know who I am. I want you to get to know the real me, okay? So I was born in 1995, August 25th. That was 30 years ago. August 25th this year, I'll be 31. I'm a Virgo, and I'm a very outgoing person. I love music. I love to sing. I love to rap. I love to do everything regarding music. I love to engineer. I love to make my beats. I love to write songs, always doing music. What else? I love to exercise. I love to go to the gym. I love to do things that will have an impact on my mental health for the better. I love to do these good things and stuff like that. But anyways, let me get you some back history. 1 second. Let me give you some history on who I truly am. So at 15 years old, I went to a Lecrae concert, right? Shout out to Lecrae, by the way. I know many of you know who Lecrae is. I went to a Lecrae concert, and he pulled me on the stage, and he let me perform one of his songs for him, right? And so as I started performing this song, I saw the emotion and the ferocity of the crowd. And I said, oh my gosh, look at this. This is crazy. The crowd loves me. And from that day on, I knew that I wanted to be a musician, right? So I went home and I started writing. I remember at 15, 16 years old, I would be in class and the teacher would be teaching about stuff about the Bible or maths class or something like that. Yeah, it was a Christian school called American International School in East Legon, Accra, Ghana. And I would just be writing songs, all the time because I had this dream. Shout out to my vlog, A Young Man's Dream. I had this dream of becoming this music superstar that little did I know was going to manifest one day. So I had this dream, so I'd just be writing. Then I remember that I went out to London. I went to a place called Milton Keynes in the UK, and I was there for 6 months. And I remember that I recorded my first song in a studio when I was 16 years old. It was called Burner, and it went something like, "What you cussing for, burn? Rolling with a burner, what you cussing?" I know some of you remember it. Some of you have held me down since those days, My first song called Burner, I recorded it and did a video, and it just went crazy out in London, crazy in Ghana. Then, just doing music continuously, working on my craft. I don't want to make this podcast too long because I want to get right to the message, and also because it is my first podcast. But basically, the basis, the premise of this whole podcast today is to tell you guys that mental health is the key to doing anything that you want to do in life, right? And I'll tell you how I got my mental health together. So 2023, that was 20 years ago, I went to my dad and I told my dad, I said, "Hey Dad, I'm having troubles with weed. I'm having troubles with different drugs. I remember I was taking ecstasy, I was on weed, I was on pills, I was on all kinds of things, alcohol, mixing. Hey, I'm mixing, you feel me? I was on all kinds of things, and I went to my dad and I told my dad, and I said, Dad, I have to get some help. And he asked me, "Son, you've gotten help before, you've gotten to rehabs before, what is going to be different this time?" And I cried out on my bed to God, and I said, God, please, I want to stop. I want to stop the way I'm feeling. Please do something to help me stop. Please do something to help me change. And so I checked into, our rehab. It's called Compassion Rehab. Shout out to Compassion Rehab, also in partnership with Chosen Rehab right now. If you need to find rehabilitation services, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Chosen Rehab. You can reach out to Compassion Rehab. And I decided that I was going to get my life together. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I remember the first 2 months that I was at Compassion Rehab, I didn't leave my room. I did not leave my room. I was so overweight. I was 400 pounds, so depressed, so emotionally down, so emotionally angry at everything, at the world, angry at everybody. And I didn't leave my room for 2 months. I wouldn't even get up to go and eat. I wouldn't get up to go and do anything. I was just depressed and in bed, right? So basically, there was a woman, her name was Bishop Shirley Stanfield from Washington, D.C., United States. And she basically she was running the rehab at the time, and she came to stay there because of me. And she told me, look, we need to get you together. Just give me a chance. If you give me a chance, I will help you. So 1 week into Compassion Rehab, I went to her and I said, look, I'm leaving. And she looked at me and she said, Danny, sorry, but you ain't going anywhere. And that was the first time that somebody told me no in my life. Being so privileged and being so, coming from such an abundant family of abundance and things like that, I'd never been told no in my life. No, you can't do this. No, you have to go through process. No, you have to do something with your life. I'd never been told something like that, So it was a first for me. It was a shock, and I thought that it wasn't real. Because I thought that, what do you mean I have to go through process and I have to go through something to actually achieve something? I didn't think it was real life. But hey, guys, let me tell you, that's what real life is about. It's about going through process. It's about building yourself. It's about going through the steps you have to take to get where you want in life. So anyways, I did 6 months of that rehab, went to London to try to start a new life. 6 months from rehab, I still wasn't ready. Went to London, relapsed within 10 days, came straight back to Ghana, went right back to that rehab, Compassion, and did the program again for another 6 months. So I did rehabilitation for 12 months. The second 6 months, God, thank you, was successful, and I managed to get my life together. Now, what really, really changed? What really, really changed? I would say what really, really changed me was when I started exercising. And how did I start exercising? There's a lady, her name is Kiana Canford Dumas. You can find her at Instagram, Facebook, everything like that. Her name is Kiana Canford Dumas. She's a physical health trainer. I'm sure many of you in Ghana know her, and she's from the States. Even abroad, you may know her, or if you don't, shout out Kiana, comment on this video so that they can see it. But shout out to Kiana. Kiana encouraged me. Kiana got me in the gym. Kiana, she didn't physically do it with me. She couldn't do the work for me, but she encouraged me to get in the gym and start doing some things. But what really changed me was when I read a book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And it basically talks about a lawyer who became a monk and found so much fruition and purposeness and purpose-fulfilled life from being a monk rather than being a lawyer who had a Ferrari. And it's a really interesting book and a really interesting concept and a really interesting perception to have of the world, because wouldn't you rather have money, Ferrari, than a monk who lives in the Himalayan mountains or something like that? So it's a really interesting perspective on life, So anyways, I read that book and it talked about how monks every day, they take a walk. And luckily for me, I was on our prayer mountain at the time, so I could walk around the mountain. So I got up one day and I said, you know what? I'm going to walk around the mountain 3 times today. Because when you're at that size, you don't ever picture yourself ever getting healthy, ever being in shape, ever getting, your life together. So I just looked at myself and I said, no, I'm never going to fix this. But something, God, something within me told me that day, go and walk the mountain. And since I walked the mountain that day, man, my body just like kicked into this. You gotta be purposeful. You gotta have motivation. You gotta get up. And let me tell you something, with exercising and especially losing weight, you're not gonna feel every day like you wanna do it. But guess what? You have to do it. Life is not about what you wanna do. Life is about what you have to do to get what you need to do. Do you get what I'm saying? So life is not about what you want to do. It's doing what you have to do to get to where you need to be. Good. Let me get some water. So basically, there's a book called Spark. And Spark is called The New Revolutionary Science of Exercise and the Brain. And what Spark says is that exercise is the number one newfound key for healing mental health. So saying all this to say, what really, really, really changed my life was exercise. Exercise, drinking water, eating healthy, doing healthy activities. I've tried over 9 or 10 rehabs, okay? Not to say that even compassion didn't work. Compassion kept me in a place of isolation to keep my mind together. But what really gave me that change in motivation was what? Exercise. So saying all this to say, exercise is the key when it comes to your mental health, especially if you want mental health awareness from addictions, things like that. So basically, I had been trying music for such a long time, from 15 until 27, and it didn't go anywhere. But let me tell you, over these past 3 years, when I got myself together, when I started eating better, drinking water, exercising, thinking better. And guys, exercise helps you think. Think about it. Exercise helps you think. So why wouldn't you want to do it? And I'm looking better, I'm looking younger, things like that. I look at myself sometimes. I think I looked at myself yesterday and I saw my hand, like this curve in my hand when I was flexing my hand. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I've never seen that before. It's crazy. There's so many benefits of exercise. So anyways, you can do anything you want to do as long as your mind is intact, okay? And I believe that strongly your family or loved ones will help you do what you want to do as long as your mind is intact, So that's really all I wanted to talk about today on this short podcast. Just wanted to encourage you, just wanted to let you know that you can do it, you can get through it, and you can keep it up. Guys, in 1 year of releasing my music, I'm about to hit 20,000 authentic streams without promotion, without a manager, without a team, without a PR, without anything. I'm doing it myself. Now I'm starting podcasts. You don't know what's going to happen next. Like, now I'm doing music videos, I'm doing podcasts. Like, you don't know what's next for Daniel Duncan Williams D. Wills. So, saying all this to say, you can do it. Be encouraged. I love you so much. And if I can do it, you can do it. God bless you. See you very soon. God bless.